It's no secret Jason's been very upset that Pereira is not fighting you, the best man at your wedding, and Kalaev. And he's got Rountree now, right? But you think he's overlooking him.
Why are you putting it on me like that?
Well, bro, because I want to.
You think he's overlooking Rountree?
I think he's probably a bit too tall to overlook him. So, sorry.
No, it would be perfect to overlook him then.
Even worth it,
yeah, you're a bit too tall to overlook.
When we do these podcasts, we ask a question and then there'll be at least 3 or 4 cunts that are like, no.
Yeah.
So,
save
is Alex Pereira overlooking Rountree? Probably not. No.
I think, yes, he is, but for good reason.
All right, go on then.
Because I think he'll smoke him in the first round, like he did Jamal. He'll go in there and just breeze through him like it's nobody's business because he doesn't deserve to be in there with him.
Oh, and you do.
I didn't say I did.
And you do.
I think there's a bit of a weight difference with that one.
There's a bit of an inference there and then statement. Well, like, why do we think he might be?
Well, because he's calling out everyone else, right?
Yes.
Is what you're saying, yeah.
What do we see from a lot of champions, a lot of really serious, dedicated fighters? They don't want a GSP Michael Cera.
Michael Cera.
Matt Cera.
That'd be an awkward fight.
Punch the old boob,
Bye.
No, like, nobody wants to be GSP versus Matt Cera. And that's exactly what GSP, openly said. I just thought I was going to run through this guy, didn't take him serious, got clocked by a random shot, and boom. And this is rife for that exact kind of situation. Clearly, Pereira has his eyes focused on future goals right now. He's thinking about either regaining the middleweight title again or getting a third belt and making UFC history. This would ruin all of that pretty instantaneously. Of course, they'd probably do a rematch because I think the UFC would do that. But man, would that mess everything up.
He is on the forefront of being the biggest star that we have. Not superstardom, but the guy that people will tune in, will know the UFC for. And he's going up against, like you said, the perfect example, the Matt Cera. He's going up against a guy that no one knows. Like you said, you
say that again.
No one.
I feel like the word "knows" just totally fell off there. It was just going.
Okay.
No one.
Like you said yourself, you was telling us a quick rundown. He has not even fought on a fucking main event headline.
No, like
he's been on fight nights most of his career,
yeah.
but he's never even headlined a show himself. But yeah, it's a massive gamble for Pereira, and I think the fact that he is still taking the fight with him shows how much he is overlooking him, because it does nothing for Pereira. He gets him another finish, but like he's obviously a champion that wants to stay active, so he's just taking the fights that are given to him. But he wants the belt up, or he wants the belt down. He didn't post a picture next to a TV with Khalil on it, did he? He posted Dricus. He wants to get as much as he can in the short time he probably has left in his mixed martial arts career.
You know what I think it does for him? I think it clinches the Fighter of the Year for him. Because then he'll have 3 title defenses inside a year. Yeah. 2 of them basically short notice. 300 wasn't that short notice, but it clearly wasn't their first choice. And of course, Alex took the moment and, destroyed Jamal Hill with that. And then the Yuri fight last minute, and now you have this. When was the last time you saw... who else is doing 3 title defenses inside a year right now?
They've made 1 or 2, but no one's doing that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of new champions, isn't there?
Exactly.
So Marab's just won it, so...
Well, yeah.
And he hasn't defended yet. Oh, shit champion, eh?
Yeah, what a shit champ.
But yeah, on the other hand, he has every right to go out there and take the biggest spotlight there is. Because I think people love tuning into Pereira, and he could be knocking out anything and anyone on a main card, and a lot of people still tune in for it because it's exciting, right? But if Khalil can capture that spotlight, and maybe even just put on a good performance, maybe even if he was to go far enough, is there someone that has been the least amount of star you've ever seen to the beating the biggest guy in the spotlight?
Holly Holm was not a star at all.
That's probably the best one.
Yeah, it was 100% the performance, because, you watched the Marion Renault fight before that, and I think it was Rocky Pennington the first fight before that. She was barely eking by, and everyone was super disappointed because she was this kickboxing and boxing star, Hall of Famer, literally in both sports. And you see her come into the UFC and you're like, man, she is struggling. These are not impressive wins. And so there was zero hype for that fight. I think that's a fun question to ask, though. Where would this rank amongst the craziest upsets ever? it's got to be really, really high.
The odds for the Ronda fight was 1,800, I think. She was a plus 1,800 underdog.
Whoa.
And Khalil is like only 350, so
375.
375, right?
According to Bet US.
Not that means everything,
Nice.
but, just in terms of that, it's obviously going to be, that's a much bigger upset.
I just like, that's the thing with Uncle Ive. We're like, oh, the wrestling game. If Uncle Ive needs the wrestling game, he's there. He can do that. He can take advantage of Pereira's holes. Whereas Khalil is like, he's a striker. And he wants to strike with him and beat him with what he does best. You just like, we were the 51%ers on the Jamal Hill. We were like, Jamal's got something interesting, creative boxing. You don't know what can happen. And we just dealt with him. It's not like we've been like thinking about like a Marab or a Bilal Muhammad where we're like, this guy could do it. He could be a champion. He's just not getting his shot. No one was thinking about Khalil when this fight was announced. Khalil versus Jamal Hill, we're like, oh, that's a step up for Khalil. That's an odd fight to make, but I like it. But now it was just like, okay, that fight fell out, so now we just push him to the title because we need someone for Pereira to fight. I know it's not a 5-fight win streak. How many finishes did you say? 4. But it's like if it come out tomorrow, Paddy's fighting Islam, we'd be like,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
100%.
I know Paddy's further down than Khalil is, but yeah, it would be insane, wouldn't it? You wouldn't even consider that to be a matchup that you would even make in the next year.
Does that not add to the intrigue? Because when there's zero belief that they're going to win, that's usually when these crazy upsets happen, right?
Yeah.
When people don't give them any chance whatsoever. Like, you could list off the amount of people.
Peña Nunes,
Yeah.
it's like nobody thought Peña.
This is a guaranteed win.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, like, if the gods will play. Everyone says this all the time, like, oh, I've got a funny feeling.
Yeah.
He might
If
knock
you
him out.
love the absolute chaos of MMA, it could be the perfect time to have something like that happen. But Pereira on the stand-up is so good, man. You have to be so clean with Pereira. And he is hittable. He's been hit by everyone he's
You
fought.
say that like you can hit him.
No, but he... okay, all right, let me caveat everything. In elite sport of MMA, everyone who is championship level can hit Pereira. He's had kickboxing fights that people have hit him. You can go watch it.
Yeah, but
Is that
you
enough?
couldn't hit him.
No,
You
I
couldn't
couldn't.
hit him,
I
bro.
can't even reach him. He's too tall. No, but I'm saying he's hittable. However, it took Izzy 4 times to fucking beat the guy. It took him 4 times. Other than that, it's like he hasn't lost in the UFC. Stand up, no one is beating him. The guy literally just needs to train his ground game, and he'd be fine.
But he did get knocked out in the stand-up, though.
He did, but it took him 4 times to get there. Obviously, different
True.
sports, yada yada. But
Depends
it's
on
like
if you want to contest that standing TKO situation where you got a standing 10 count. And
Oh, yeah.
What was the second Izzy fight?
Yeah.
remember that, eh?
Second kickboxing fight.
yeah.
But-
But you have to be so clean, or you have to just come across the perfect moment to do what you need to do.
Izzy
to get
almost
him out
knocked
there.
him out at the end of the first round. Remember that?
Yeah, but like that's the guy who's had so much experience with him.
I love how there's an answer for every one of these.
No, but it's true.
like,
it's
yes,
true,
well-
right? If you're going in there against a guy, yeah, you can watch tape on him. But if you're going against like for your first time, you don't know how it's going to feel. If you're in the cage with a guy that you've done it 3 times, you're like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. I've been here before.
Okay.
I'm going to just now put the new things I've been doing in place. Whereas if you're a fresh guy and you're like, fuck, you're fighting the mystique of Alex Pereira. I definitely think Yuri and Hill bought into the mystique of Pereira. I think they were intimidated. And obviously, Hill being off for a long time as well, coming back from injury, Yuri being knocked out by Pereira before, it definitely played on them going into those fights. Whereas Rountree has that beneficial factor of the fact that he has nothing to lose. He's not really meant to be here, and it's something. It's a fresh new challenge for him to take on, rather than being like, "Oh, last time I was in here, this guy fucking cleaned
Do
me."
you think the fact that it is kind of come out of nowhere might give him even more confidence? Like, Khalil obviously was on a great streak, goes back on Rogan, and discusses the situation that he's been sort of sidelined indefinitely until they figure out this issue, which probably going to be a short period of time. To feel like in that moment that maybe the stars aren't aligning, to then a month later have everything rotate to the point where you are going to fight the person you want to fight. You're going to get the fight that you think is the most important fight for your life because he said that. Like, I need to have this fight. Do you think that's going to make him more confident going into this fight? To feel like, holy shit, this is my moment. All the stars are aligning. I'm getting what I want, and I have the opportunity to knock out this guy.
It does fall in line with the fact that Pereira is calling literally everyone else out and doesn't seem to be too bothered. And we were talking about this beforehand. He's 6'4" to Khalil 6'1".
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I mean, we've definitely seen, Mark Hunt knock out Stefan Struve, so that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's also got a 3-inch reach. You were talking reach advantage, I should say, 3-inch reach advantage. You were saying that Khalil usually likes to fight on the outside, right?
Yeah.
That's going to present some problems there.
Massive.
The taller fighter with a longer reach. Good luck playing on the outside with somebody like that who just needs to touch you once.
After Khalil went and reinvented himself with Muay Thai, which everyone remembers from the Eric Anders fight, right? He had that pure Thai stance. He doesn't really look like that anymore, and he's definitely changed his style a lot. But what he predominantly does is fight on the outside against the kickboxing guys like Jacoby, and he has enough power. He's great at countering and attacking immediately, which is very Muay Thai. But he operates at like this range, like if you're a boxer, you want to lead with your hands. Usually you get a bit closer because you want to make sure you can like explode and cover the distance. But Khalil's got a kicking game, so he sits at kicking range, which is exactly where Alex Pereira sits. So now you've got a fight where it's two guys here. This guy's the best in the world, and this guy isn't going to try and fight here. He's going to sit in this range. And I just feel like that's the leg kicks. That's the right head kick, I think, is going to be a big weapon for Alex in this fight. I'm going to call the right head kick right now against Southpaw. But I just feel like he's probably just going to sit there, try and go technique for technique and just get picked apart, I think, by the superior striker. But he has already knocked out a Glory kickboxing world champion who was a lot smaller than him and had never fought in MMA before, really.
Well, I think a lot of people, probably assume because I've been so bullish on the Ankalaev fight that I dislike Pereira or something like that. It is the exact opposite. I actually think these fights are too easy for him. And I think he thinks that as well, and that's kind of the whole conundrum that we're in here. If he does manage to somehow lose, how big of a deal this is. And it does look like a pretty, I don't want to say Khalil's an easy fight, but I mean, it's a step down. It's a step down. I mean, who did he fight for the number one contendership? Jan Blachowicz, a former champion. Somebody with a massive left hand. He was coming up from middleweight. So Jan at the time was, I would say, bigger. We know that Pereira's fought at the equivalent of light heavyweight in Glory and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily a new class to him. But he was coming up from predominantly fighting at middleweight for several years on his title run up to, and, both the fights with Izzy again. It just seems like this is a massive step down for him. So it should be a fight he handily wins.
On paper, I would agree with you. It's a step down. But I would be very reluctant to say that because you've got someone like Dominic Reyes, who we all said didn't deserve the shot, had done a few things but not a lot, and went in there full of confidence on a win streak with all the belief in himself that he was going to beat John Jones, and he put on a fantastic performance. And so, even if this looks like a really easy fight for Alex or to everyone or even to the UFC, I feel like it's still good matchmaking because the potential is there for it to be a really, really good fight. Maybe it's a quick knockout, which it probably will be, but I also feel like it could be a really good fight.
The difference, I would say, with Pereira and John Jones, though, is John Jones has this history of fighting to the level of whoever he's fighting.
That's true as well.
So it's we've talked about this before. What are John Jones's worst performances? They're basically all the ones that you think he should dominate on, and he just doesn't. You got Reyes, Smith, Thiago Santos, the first Gus fight. Nobody gave Gus a chance. Back then, I don't care how many, newer fans are watching this back or how many people are, coloring that with rose-tinted glasses. It was 100% at the time where it's like, oh, they're the same height. Cool. That was the entire marketing for the fight was they're the same height. Doesn't matter. Clearly, though, it did. But, I mean, it's well documented. He's talking about it openly that he was partying before that. He didn't give him a chance in his mind, and then that was what gave him an issue. That's the difference, I would say, Pereira and, a potential answer to this question is, what did we see with Jamal Hill? After he knocked him out, he was like, see, told you guys that this guy wasn't on my level. He literally gesticulated that, he literally motioned that out. And that's exactly what happens. To counter that, GSP doesn't really have a history of that either. It only took one time. So this could be that one time. And it was essentially just Matt Serra, and that was basically it. We never saw that again with GSP. If anything, his style became incredibly muted, incredibly safe, to the extent that he didn't have a finish for 10 years. It was from BJ Penn all the way to Michael Bisping. There was a huge gap in time there. So we could be looking at that. Anything can happen. It is a fight. And the fact that he is calling literally everyone else out makes you wonder.
Did you see how much Alex Pereira is a favourite by?
$299.
Plus $299, which is funny because that is the same price as the membership.
Yay.
So if you want the full podcast and every single podcast this month, that's 8 podcasts in total, use your $2.99 you got left over in your wallet on your card, put that in, join the membership, right, and you can see us 2 times a week for half an hour to an hour sometimes.
I see what you did there. You kind of bent the rules there. You said plus $2.99 because we can't say our membership is minus $2.99.
No.
It's like you actually got to pay for something.
I also
for it. We
don't know how
give you
the
money
American
to
odd
sign up.
system works either. So I just thought plus means good.